Welcome to the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast.
A simple warning. We know many of you are planning a wedding right now. We may be tempted to drop an F-bomb or other descriptive words. Keep this in mind if you have small children in the room or are on a Zoom call. You've been warned.
The Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast.
Let's be honest, planning a wedding is tricky. And at Be Engaged and Inspired, we'll share our knowledge to help you navigate these tricky waters and leaving you feeling inspired.
The Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast is sponsored by EasyEventPlanning.com. They make planning any event fast and easy. EasyEventPlanning.com. And now your hosts, Kia and DJ Sam.
Welcome to the Be Engaged and Inspired The Wedding Podcast. We're giving you wedding trends and unique ideas just for you in 22. This is DJ Sam from Atmosphere Productions.
And this is Gia from Engaged, Connecticut, and I'm here again with you, Sam. It's a Wednesday, so what do you have for us?
Well, we're going to start off like we are traditionally doing now with an inspirational quote because...
And then I'm going to ruin it.
No, you're not, because we're the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast. And my inspiration quote is, when marrying, ask yourself this question. Do you believe that you'll be able to converse well with this person into your old age? Everything else in marriage is transitory.
And who said that?
That was by Freddie Niche. Or Friedrich.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
You gave him a street name. It's totally fine. How often do you speak to your wife?
I try to speak to her daily, but in-depth conversation rarely.
Okay. It works for you. And from my 1913 Don'ts for Wives...
Yes.
It's my inspiration, I guess.
Please.
Don't get the idea that all your husband wants is a housekeeper or a decorative head of the table. He wants a companion, and when he is home, he doesn't want you to be always somewhere else.
1913.
Yeah. The decorative head of the table.
I know.
I wouldn't have thought... that's how I guess I would have described the husband. I thought that was... but I guess they're not decorative.
That's not a way to, speak about your wife, is it?
No.
Decorative head
of table. Yep. Okay, so it's Wednesday. I'm sure we have a wedding tip that's actually useful to somebody.
Oh, I certainly do. Wedding Tip Wednesday is available on the Be Engaged and Inspired Facebook group page. It's there every Wednesday. Come join us. It's free.
Wedding Tip Wednesday is brought to you by Emerge Cosmetics. Are you ready to emerge? A new line of luxurious lipsticks and lip glosses created with the intention of empowerment and coming into who you truly are. Strong, beautiful, and confident. Use the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast coupon code EBI10 at shopemergecosmetics.com for an instant 10% discount. That's coupon code EBI10 for 10% discount at shopemergecosmetics.com. Emerge as the true you.
Hey, Sam, when it comes to finding the right professional vendor, it can seem overwhelming to know where to start.
It can, Kia, unless you use EasyEventPlanning.com, because they'll find perfect vendors for your event within your budget and deliver them right to your inbox. You can search through over 28 categories of party and wedding services. Get the details you need to narrow down your choices quickly with their category-specific profiles. Chat with vendors via text, audio, or video from any device.
EasyEventPlanning.com will make planning your wedding or event easy, from their extensive vendor directory to their free tips on favors, decorations, themes, and more. Contact them today at EasyEventPlanning.com.
Help us out. Make a donation now to help support this podcast. Please go to our anchor.fm profile, click Support This Podcast at the top of the page, or use the link in the show notes of this episode, or go to the Atmosphere Productions business profile on Venmo. Thank you for making a donation and helping support this podcast.
You're listening to the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast.
Now syndicated on the Wedding Talk channel on YouShook.com radio network, America's radio station.
Today's Wedding Tip Wednesday, it's a good one. It's all about stress. Want to reduce the stress of your wedding day? Then hire professionals. I'll say it again. Hire professionals. There's a reason why our brides, that is Atmosphere Productions,
in Engaged, Connecticut,
are always smiling and having so much fun at their wedding reception. Look at the pictures on our websites.
They don't see all the things we do running around in the background. We look like chickens with our heads cut off in an organized manner.
That would ruin the whole surprise. It's like seeing The Wizard of Oz. You're not really impressed anymore. No. They don't need to see that.
That's why when you go to Disney, you don't get to see how they put the helmets on and the characters. No. They're the characters.
No. I even found out that they even have Disney paint. so that some of the buildings are painted certain colors so it blends in the background.
Yep.
These people think of everything.
Yeah, so do I. So who brought us our Wednesday wedding tip, Sam?
Wedding Tip Wednesday is brought to you by ShopEmergeCosmetics.com. Don't forget to use the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast coupon code EBI10 at ShopEmergeCosmetics.com for an instant 10% discount on lipsticks and lip gloss. That's coupon code EBI10 for 10% discount. Go to ShopEmergeCosmetics.com. Emerge as the true you.
On today's episode, we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart.
It's what you are.
It is what I am. So I know we've discussed this before between what is a professional and what is maybe an amateur or somebody new to the business. And there is nothing wrong with somebody new to the business. But if you are working with them, you and I always sort of say this.
Yes.
There's things you have to consider. How new are they to the business? And how many risks are you as a couple willing to take?
Right. So for this entire episode, it's going to be like a two-parter,
Yeah.
basically. It's, your title generally is event planner, wedding coordinator.
Everything,
right? But there are different elements of that. And we're going to kind of dig deep into that because I don't think a lot of clients really understand what you do 100%.
Oh, no. I don't sometimes understand what I do, just to be honest.
We'll break it down.
Let's start. So right now, and I'm saying it even more after 2020 and everybody who went through this thing where everybody had all these things planned and then all of a sudden realized the world sort of fell apart.
Oops, we can't do that now.
Yep. And so now they're like, oh my God, like the idea of having to do everything, like set up my table and put everything where it needs to be, blah, blah, blah. It's day of. People call it day of. It's really not day of. I don't just show up and then take direction and go.
Right.
I spend, at least for our company, I spend months with you, checking in with you, saying, like, are these your centerpieces? When is your florist dropping them off? Are we setting them up? Are we lighting the candles? Is catering lighting the candles?
So when do you, as a coordinator, then come on if you're hired as a day of coordinator?
As instantaneously.
No, but what's...
Instantaneously. I literally...
So as soon as they...
As soon as the contract is signed...
Boom, you're on. Gotcha.
I'm in.
Gotcha.
I need you to tell me everything that you've done. I need to see every contract. I need to see everything that's in your timeline, which I will destroy. And then what I have to say to you is, yes, I can do this, and yes, I can do this, but this is not going to work. Somebody's planned something that just is not going to be feasible. Okay. I'm going to give you a quick true wedding story. You don't have to make the sounds. But I have a couple who's getting married, and we are also handling all of their rehearsal information and the rehearsal dinner and everything.
Yep.
And their idea is that, like, Saturday morning, we can go back to rehearsal dinner location, pick up flowers, and bring them for things like on the escort table, onto the bar, all of this. Well, the venue...
Why would they think that?
Because somebody told them they could. They can repurpose. But the issue is there's a timing. Venue 1 is not open till venue 2 is up and running.
Yeah.
So we now have to coordinate differently.
Yeah. And
so
they didn't think of that.
They didn't.
Yeah.
And this is one of those reasons why I say to everybody who books with us, we start right away. I'm not necessarily as available to you as I am to somebody who is a full-time planner.
Right.
But I can fix a lot more shit with months to go than I can the week of or the day of.
Right. So if a day of coordinator is called 7 days before the wedding, is that too tight a timeline?
I mean, I've done a wedding in 5 days. I don't recommend it.
Right.
But that's not the level of resources that I want to go to, because then I have to come back to Sam and be like, Sam, please. I'm
Please
so
be
sorry
available.
that time that I made you do something that you didn't want to do. But that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
So if you're working with somebody who doesn't have a great network base where they can say, hey, how can I fix this? Every day that passes, you have less time to fix an issue, and it becomes more and more of an issue.
You do.
So the concept of day of, which there are wedding planners who won't even speak to you if you say day of, which I think is not correct. And I understand why, but I think you need to be clear to your clients what it is.
Yeah, yeah. And there's nothing wrong in saying that you don't want any business that's not day of, because there's DJs, for instance, I don't do school dances, for instance. Okay. And I know other DJs that do. They do weddings and school dances. Yeah. There's nothing. But as long as you know that up front.
Exactly. There's nothing beneath any person, I think, being day of. I think the difference is that we have couples, and the internet doesn't help.
Yeah,
Who says, like, you plan and plan and plan, and then just hand somebody a folder. Well, the way that I speak and the way that you speak and the way that half of my crew speaks, we all have a whole different language.
Way. Yeah.
So you might write down something saying like, centerpiece must be flowers, 4 candles, all lit, 3 votives. And then you're like, crap, 4 candles, but are the 3 votives part of the candles? Those are those little small detail parts of it, which I don't want you as a couple walking in going, this isn't right.
Right.
I once had a bride who gave me a diagram, literally, of how the items should be spaced on the table. But
with measurements in between?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Except they had not discussed with the venue what the size of the table was.
Because it made a difference now, right?
And I went back to them saying, that's not fitting.
Yeah.
It's fitting, but you've just lost 2 seats.
So what would an amateur do
An amateur would say, yes, I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. The other problem is sometimes somebody who's not been doing this in the business doesn't necessarily know the best way to alleviate your stress, alleviate vendor stress, alleviate the venue stress. And if you get stressed, that sort of overflows into the event. And I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I had a wedding where a bride, her maid of honor was her wedding planner. And they were at one of our venues. This is a poor girl who kept trying to line people up and didn't let me do my job, and it's totally fine. But she was lining this person up, saying, you walk, and then still trying to be there. But she couldn't be there when the bride walked out.
You can't.
And it was a lot of stress, and that stress sort of overflowed the entire wedding. There was a good 2 hours where literally people were chucking pumpkins because they didn't know where they had to go. So people are just trying to get an order of 300 pumpkins into the right places.
Impossible.
And if we had just sat down as we requested many, many times, we could have said, great. Like I had 4 people standing there ready to help.
We can do that.
So the day of thing that happens too a lot of times is amateurs are like one person and maybe their husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever.
Right. They don't have the people.
They don't have the people.
Yeah.
And they also don't have a concept of how long things take.
Time is not stretchable.
No. So like if I'm at one of our venues like the Inn at Mount Pleasant, we're usually there between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning. Not because we have to be, but it gives literally my entire staff that sense of we know we're here all day.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I show up so early for events too.
Yeah. Like I'm going to set up these chairs. So when the person looks from upstairs and the bride or the groom says, I don't like that angle, we have time to fix it.
Yeah.
Granted, we try to fix those things even beforehand and we try to go through it. But there are times that people aren't available. This is what happens.
Absolutely. Anything else that the day of stuff?
The day of stuff sometimes is how much stuff you need. Like I think sometimes people think like, well, I have everything. I know that in your brain you think you have everything, and if somebody has only done 1 or 2 weddings, they think they have everything.
Yep.
But if you looked at my emergency kit, I mean, an apocalypse could happen, and I'm still going to be fine, and I can still hang up a photo, and I can still do whatever. I have tape and glue and clear Band-Aids and skin-colored Band-Aids and so much shit.
Right. And that's what an amateur would not have, that emergency kit, because they have not had the experience to go through that.
And I have tampons in every flow version. I have pads in every flow version.
Yeah, who thinks of that?
I have, like I said, I have literally Band-Aids in every human color that you can possibly have. Yeah. I know how to fix a dress that has a sheer cover and has a rip in it.
Yep.
I also know how to fix one that isn't that.
Yep.
I think that's one of those different things which every single time you have an amateur, they add something after that event. But you as a client have to be aware of it.
Right, but you were an amateur at one point and you've learned from your experience, right?
Yeah, I've been doing this for over a decade. I'm going to use a decade. I no longer like the number that it is, so I'm just a decade and plus. Okay, so we're going to go to commercial, and we're going to talk about that actually full planning version.
Right after this?
Each week, the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding podcast posts a new episode sharing wedding tips, knowledge, and speaking with wedding experts, all as a chance to help you navigate your way through planning your own wedding. Have a topic you want us to cover? Want to send us a message? Email us at engagedct@gmail.com, go to the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast Facebook group page, or on anchor.fm and select message. Your message will be recorded and may be aired on a future episode.
The Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding podcast will be right back.
Dollar Tree is the nation's #1 destination for value shopping. All of their stores are well lit and crammed with all kinds of hidden treasures. Dollar Tree offers a plethora of merchandise that includes many national and regionally trusted brands. It doesn't matter if you're looking for housewares, dinnerware, candy, snacks, stationery, or holiday needs. You're going to find it at Dollar Tree. You can shop at your hometown store or shop online for exclusive offers, manufacturer closeouts, watch videos, and join their Value Seekers Club. On top of all that, you can have your order shipped for free directly to your local store. To visit DollarTree.com, click on the link in the show notes to let them know we sent you. Doing so helps keep our podcast going. Dollar Tree.
Destination Weddings Unlimited is your destination wedding and honeymoon specialist worldwide. Call us at 844-666-6872. Online at destinationweddingsunlimited.com. Allow us to take the stress and time off your plate so you can have an amazing experience. We're able to walk you through the process and handle all the travel and coordination needs. Destination Weddings Unlimited, online at destinationweddingsunlimited.com.
Honey Fund, the world's #1 wedding registry. Honey Fund helps real couples realize their wedding and honeymoon dreams. Honey Fund's #1 online wedding gift registry makes it easy to give and receive the perfect wedding gift, one that reflects the couple's unique style and makes giving fun for the wedding guest. As the world's most popular crowdfunding site for weddings, honeymoons, and more, Honey Fund has helped hundreds of thousands of couples make their wedding dreams come true with an easy-to-use funding platform. Honey Fund, a gift card wedding registry that's as flexible as cash. Use the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding podcast link in the show notes or visit atmosphere-productions.com. Select the podcast link and click on the Honey Fund banner. That's atmosphere-productions.com. Select the podcast link and click on the Honey Fund banner.
Welcome to the Inn at Mount Pleasant. Contact us at the inn@mountpleasant.com. Located in the hills of Torrington, our classic New England bed and breakfast and historic barn is the perfect location for your personalized wedding weekend. Contact us at the inn@mountpleasant.com.
Hey, Aaron Miller here from Aaron Miller Photography.
I'm Michelle from Destination Weddings Unlimited.
This is Marty Q.
I'm Donna from Creative Cakes by Donna, and I listen every week.
You should tell an engaged friend.
And I always listen to DJ Sam and Kia
on the Be Engaged and Inspired podcast. Jeff Ladd here from Tire Biter and Jeff Ladd DJ Plus.
This is Christina Wesley from La Femme Boudoir Photography.
Tell an engaged friend or somebody planning an event.
I'm Lauren Simpson from LA Page Makeup, and I listen every week for the great tips and suggestions.
You should tell an engaged friend.
Every single Wednesday. And you know what? It's free.
Free
on iTunes and Google Podcasts. I suggest you listen to.
You should listen to.
Emerge Cosmetics. Are you ready to emerge?
I bought this lipstick after my wedding trial with Lauren and instantly fell in love with it. It is smooth and creamy and the color is beautiful.
This is Lauren Simpson from Emerge Cosmetics, a professional makeup artist with over a decade of experience in the beauty industry. That's the reaction we're getting from our new line of carefully curated lip products that wear well and feel comfortable. These are a must-have for your collection. All products are made in the USA, cruelty-free, gluten-free, and most are vegan. Shop emergecosmetics.com for lipsticks and lip glosses that not only feel great, but last for hours in an array of different colors. Free shipping on orders over $100. Use the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast coupon code EBI10 at shopemergecosmetics.com for an instant 10% discount. That's coupon code EBI10 for 10% discount at shopemergecosmetics.com. Emerge as the true you.
Atmosphere Productions. Professional disc jockeys.
Live musicians, custom lighting and photo booth.
When your wedding entertainment has to have the amazing music be fun, organized, and unforgettable, your choice has to be Atmosphere Production. Experience the difference. www.atmosphere-productions.com. That's www.atmosphere-productions.com.
DJs, live musicians, custom lighting and photo booth.
Atmosphere Productions. Professional disc jockeys.
Meadowbrook Estates and Mansion is located in Marlborough, Connecticut, perfectly situated between New York City and Boston. Our one-of-a-kind 10,500 square foot venue offers lodging for up to 30 guests and a stunning ballroom for intimate weddings. Looking to host a larger event? We have a gorgeous outside setting right next to our heated pool and small rambling brook. Contact us at Engage Connecticut for more details.
Hi, America. Looking for a one-stop entertainment website that the whole family can enjoy? How about shows like these? Producer Andy's Rock Countdown. Wow Wilson, featuring music and jokes like you've never ever heard before. Our latest addition to the Ushuk family is the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast with DJ Sam and Kia. Are you planning a vacation? Well, you gotta check out Terry Mansfield's group Travel Voice. And for all you country rockers, there's DJ Mark Style, giving you all the hits from yesterday. Oh, you can even join me, DJ Pauly, my show with lots of unique music and comedy. See, there's something for everyone on America's station, Ushook.com.
Next week's episode of the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast. And it's a continuation, right?
Yes, about wedding planning in that murky middle. That's what I like to call it, or some people call it partial planning.
Murky middle. I like that. Right here on the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast next week. Now syndicated on the Wedding Talk channel on Ushook.com radio, America's radio station.
Now back to the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding Podcast, sponsored by EasyEventPlanning.com. They make planning any event fast and easy. EasyEventPlanning.com with your hosts, Kia and DJ Sam.
Welcome back to the Be Engaged and Inspired the Wedding Podcast. DJ Sam here with Kia, and we're discussing Kia. It's all about her today. It's all about wedding planning. It's about time. We did the DJ one a few episodes back, so you can go and check that one out.
Some people with fans, grapes, like Ruby Kelker somewhere. Somebody bring me some food.
So in part one, we were talking about day of coordinating. Yep. Anything else you want to add on that before we move on?
I think you just, as a client, need to be clear about what your expectations are, but also understand that if you're working with a professional, you have to let them do their job. And if you're working with an amateur, then you have to be really, really clear about what you're expecting.
Mm-hmm. And follow up.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that other part of being a day of is like a full planning service. So when I do full planning, I'm talking to people about what their, guest count sizes, family expectations, budget. Mm-hmm. This is the biggest difference between amateurs and professionals. Mm-hmm. And I get this a lot. I just planned my wedding. I had the best time in the world planning my wedding. I would love to come work for you. And the moment they come and work for me, the one part that I see that sort of usually falls apart is the budget.
Okay.
Because it's not their money.
Yes.
And it's not their style.
Yes.
And if you can't disassociate yourself from that, you're like, well, why would you spend $3,000 on flowers?
Right.
Like, we could do this cheaper. Or you want to only spend $3,000 on flowers? We could spend $5,000 on flowers.
Yeah.
I am very cautious and conscious of what somebody's budget is.
Right.
I'm not going to show them a vendor that they can't afford.
Right.
I will have a vendor show them something if at the end of the day we've done a really good job with our budget and you can upgrade. But I'm not showing you something you're not going to be able to obtain at all, ever.
Right. So part of the job then as the full planner is working on that budget and stripping out of there what needs to go into each category and how much.
Yep.
Because sometimes they may think, well, I don't want to spend $3,000 on a DJ.
Yeah.
And then
I've had that. They'll be like, I was planning on $500. And I say, great. Then that's like your local high school kid who's going to like pull up his like parents' boombox and plug things in.
Right. Because there's 3 different locations. It's in 2 different areas.
Exactly.
Right. So,
and there's insurance that your venue needs. So we take all of that into consideration. What we start to do, and sometimes full planning for us either begins with them having nothing or having basically the venue and maybe food covered.
Okay.
Or just the venue.
Okay.
And then we say, okay, what are the next things? And mine is always food, booze, and entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Food, booze, and entertainment.
Food, booze, and entertainment.
That's a great name for a company.
I know. It's the FBE of all of it. FEO Schwartz, it's the other version of it. Because those are the things that people remember.
It's true.
They remember the food, they
do.
remember the booze, and they remember if they were on the dance floor. They don't care that you want the most expensive photographer in the world.
No, they don't.
They don't care. Because when they're on enjoying the entertainment, they're going to look like shit. So they don't necessarily want the best photographer.
And that's not saying that the photographer has to be the cheapest.
Oh, no.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
It's just
But this is from the guest perspective.
Right.
And your perspective is the photographer, the food, the booze, and the entertainment and videographer.
Right. Because I always think I'm the most important thing when I go to a wedding. And then I realize, the bride and groom is there.
Just because you showed up in a tux does not mean you're the center of attention.
That's right.
But that's the way that people think.
They do.
When people attend your wedding, what they're thinking about is how good was the food, how quickly did things move around, How good was the open bar, and how quickly did I get to the bar and back from the bar, and how quickly could I go up and down, and whether they had to give cash or not, and that's a whole other thing. And then the entertainment. Was I on the dance floor?
Did I have fun?
And even if I wasn't on the dance floor, was I enjoying what was happening on the dance floor? And that's where you fall into third category.
I do.
You're way more important than I am.
When it comes to that.
And guest music. 99% of the time, guests don't even know that I exist.
99% of the time, you're right.
They just see like a hand that comes out and hands like a groom a drink. I take a bouquet. They're like, who is this person who's all dressed in black? And boom.
It's so
I'm
true.
not the center of any attention.
And that's the sign of a professional wedding planner, is when everything's going smoothly, you don't even know they're there, but in the background, they are solving chaos.
And even if it's not going smoothly, that's where it is. It's the solving chaos part of it. So I'm going to go back to this wedding where the best friend was maid of honor and was also their wedding planner. The cake didn't show up. So she's standing in front of me and she said, the cake is not showing up. The cake is not showing up. What do we do? My boyfriend is at Big Y. Oh my God. Like, what are we going to do? And I said, buy 4 sheet cakes. Nobody at the end of the day is going to know that we cut up Big Y sheet cakes.
Nope. They're not.
They're not.
And they're absolutely not going to care either.
And we don't need to make it into a thing.
Right.
I think sometimes that's the difference between an amateur and a professional. When there's an issue, you're not sitting there. Sam does have a whole bunch of flags that he just waves randomly.
Red ones.
But you're not sitting there saying like, oh, my computer just failed. You have your other computer up and you look a little grumpy. I know something's happened. But you're not sitting there going like, ugh.
And that's the point. We're not saying that you should go out and buy a sheet cake.
No. But you need somebody who can problem solve in the situation.
Exactly. And a sheet cake is the problem solver for that situation.
And that's more of a day of, but the issue too is as you're planning.
Yeah.
Every time somebody picks somebody, and I can give a different example. I have a great sweet couple. They have worked out a deal because their family works with Bob and Maggie a lot. And they're working with a caterer who all of a sudden no longer removes the trash. They plan on being out of there about an hour before the wedding ends.
Oh.
And there's a whole bunch of red flags for us. Yes, they're cheaper. But the reason why all of our companies that we recommend stay till the end is because they know there's a whole bunch of trash that just appears.
So there's a reason why they're a little bit more expensive. And that's why a professional wedding planner knows all these things. You know the facility. So when you're looking into getting a planner, try and find one that knows the facilities. Just like with the DJ, if I know the facility, I know the different areas where I need to be, where I shouldn't be. The same with a planner. He or she knows the different aspects of that venue.
And it's okay if your planner doesn't necessarily know that venue or has not worked in that venue, as long as they're upfront about it. Anybody who keeps telling you, yep, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Ultimately, there will be something to worry about. It just is. Because there's things that are going to happen. Like you always say to me when I say, I'm just sending you someone. Yeah. And you're like, Kia, is there like a ceremony location? Is there a cocktail location? What number did you give them? And I'll be like, Sam, shh. Like,
don't worry about it.
Just take the job. Just take it. And you're like, no, I need to know these things.
There's a reason. Yep.
And if you're talking to somebody, be it professional or not, you can't compare. Like, we're not comparing apples to apples. We're always comparing apples to oranges.
Yep.
It's the same thing with GJ. It's actually the same thing with all vendors. Every vendor has something different to offer. Yep. Does not say that you can't go with somebody who's a newbie.
No.
If it saves you money. But realize that there may be additional stress in that situation that you weren't necessarily planning on. Or you can be pleasantly surprised.
Now, something else that you do is review contracts, right?
I do when I do full planning.
Right. That's what we're talking about, full planning. So we review contracts and anything that they need to know about when you review, well, let's just say all the paperwork you're going to review.
The paperwork. So typically when somebody does day of, I still ask to see the contract so I know what the heck I just got myself into. But when it's full planning, I review their contracts. I look through them before they sign. If they've already signed, I go through them and I say, hey, we should send a joint email clarifying these 4 things. I just want to make sure, like, is my staff doing this? Is their staff doing this? I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't really want to.
Of course not.
But I don't have to review your contracts because literally, I mean, sometimes you help me. I don't actually have to do my job. Sam sends a timeline. I'm like, nah, I don't like that one. Move that. And he'll be like, okay. And then I'm good. But you don't get the stuff and you don't get the after stuff.
Anything else that the full service planner
A lot of times it's negotiating. It's going to those first initial meetings, which obviously since 2020 have changed. So sometimes it's Zooms.
Yep.
It's walkthroughs. I walk into a location.
Walkthroughs, that's so important.
I walk into a location and I view it completely differently than a couple is. Just like when you walk into a venue, you're like, you're clapping everywhere, trying to figure out where's the best place to be set up. Where's the dance floor? Like, no. So we do a bunch of that as well. And a lot of it is checking in with you, talking to you. What's the next step? It's reviewing invitations and wording, your signage. There's a lot. There's always a lot.
So with a full event planner, what sort of timeline do you have with the couple? I mean, how often can they contact you? How does it break down before the event?
So obviously, as we continue getting closer, they have way more contact with me. And that's actually the same thing for day of. That's just at least our company's policy. But what we try to do is, if we are 2 years out, we can talk once a month. Like we don't have to stress. I give you tasks to do. I say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 months to complete these tasks, and then we're going to connect. I'm not there to punish you. I'm not there to give you gold stars. I'm just there to say, hey, these are the things we should be working on. I try not to overwhelm you. A lot of it is trying to not overwhelm you. It's saying, these are the next things. Let's do this. My full-time clients can always contact me. They know how to get a hold of me. We figure out what's the best communication. Some text, some Facebook, some Instagram, some email me, some call me, whatever works for them. And then we say things like, okay, this is what we're doing. And then I'm also there to remind them like, hey, you guys are aware that like I think Sam needs like a payment, so that you're not going into a situation where maybe you're going to have to pay a late fee. Or sometimes I've had couples who have hit the late fee part of it, but then realize as we look back through all of our emails that vendor didn't send the correct information. So I sort of step in saying, can we waive this late fee? Because what we were waiting on was this. And we didn't get it. And I fully understand and no one's upset, but can we just goodwill? So we do all of that. And then obviously as we get closer and closer to the wedding, I'm available as much as I can.
Right. So do you ever get, I'm sure you do, every day they're calling you, once a week they're calling you.
A lot of times I get that when people first book us. And so what I try to do, and I learned this from a great wedding planner who used to be an amazing wedding planner in town. And then she decided to go in a different route, which is totally fine. But she used to say to her clients, write it down, even write it into like a draft email. And then every other day, send me the draft email. And so if I have a client who seems to be that person, that's what I state to them. And then I have clients who don't want to talk to me at all. Because they're like, well, you're my wedding planner. I'm not making any decisions. And it's like, well, no. I'm not holding your money. I'm not paying for things. Like you need to do it. So those are people who I need to reach out to. Each person's different. You know, your personality is different than mine, Sam.
Let's not go there, but I will tell you about the official New Bride Name Change Kit. It's a complete name change kit for new brides and same-sex couples containing instructions, checklists, and all government forms for you to complete, plus labels for envelopes, and it's customized to your state and local jurisdiction. It's got everything you need. All you have to do is open the pretty pink box and get ready to go from Miss to Mrs. or Mr. to Mr. without any hassle at all. The official New Bride Name Change Kit. Use the Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding podcast link in the show notes of this episode or visit atmosphere-productions.com. Then select the podcast link at the bottom and click on the namechangekit.com banner. Clicking the link doesn't cost you anything, but your purchase will help compensate us and keep this podcast alive.
And we're going to talk about this again next week because there's all this middle ground of wedding planning.
The stuff in the middle.
Stuff in the middle. There's always something in the middle. And remember that you can download us for free wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're available on Anchor and Spotify. We're also on the Wedding Talk channel on YouShook.com radio, YouTube, and Mixcloud. And obviously, can we just shoot it over to Ruby so she can thank our sponsors?
Thanks to our sponsors, EasyEventPlanning.com, Meadowbrook Estate, Emerge Cosmetics, Here to the Moon Travel, Destination Weddings Unlimited, Dollar Tree, Honey Fund, and the official New Bride Name Change Kit.
Now syndicated on the Wedding Talk channel on YouShook.com radio network, America's radio station.
Okay, remember to join us again next week because Sam and I are always here on Wednesdays. I think I see you more than your wife does.
The Be Engaged and Inspired Wedding podcast is sponsored by EasyEventPlanning.com. They make planning any event fast and easy. EasyEventPlanning.com. This podcast is produced and copyright by Atmosphere Productions in association with Engaged Connecticut.